Hey guys, Andy here, and today I'm working on my Rolling Thunder tank kit for Wild West Exodus. As you can see, it's a pretty big kit. I mean, the base is huge, absolutely huge. I'll show a comparison with a Wild West Exodus figure later on. But starting off, as you should with any resin kit, I'm checking that I've got all the parts and just going out. So we've got the main body and the dust ram and the couple of wheels, tank turret, main gun, um, which looks interesting, the turret plate, which the turret sits on, and some miniguns. So they're all good. First thing I started with was cleaning up the model kits. This was just simply done with a craft knife, a file, and some clippers where appropriate. I did that on to take some bits off sprues and bits and pieces. Now, if you've watched Steve's How to Build a Forge World kit, I'm basically following most of those steps here, and yeah, it's a really enjoyable thing. For the turret, I decided to put in a magnet into both the turret and the turret plate, just so the turret would grip to the turret but still be free moving. I could have done this with a pin, but I had some 3mm magnets kicking around, so I thought, you know what, I'll give it a try. It's not the strongest grip, but yeah, works out pretty well. So after the cleaning up stage, it's time for the washing up stage. To get all of the mold release and all of the dust that I created during the cleaning up stage, I washed the pieces in lukewarm soapy water and then rinsed them clean. I put them on some kitchen towel and left them to dry for a couple of hours to let the water evaporate and all nice and clean. Next, onto the gluing stage. At this point, I made sure of my dry fit again, as I did during the cleanup stage. The turret plate is actually a really tight fit on this model once the cattle ram is in the right place. So as you can see, I'm having a bit of a struggle popping it back off dry. I probably could have left it in without glue, but oh well. So I'm using some super glue here to fix the models. I'm using some gel super glue. This is the thicker sort of super glue that you can get from most stores. You could use thinner stuff. I just had this on hand and decided to use it. I think it creates a stronger bond, especially for larger pieces like this. For smaller pieces, smaller models, maybe some thinner super glue would be better used and stuff. But I'm also using some Army Painter super glue activator. Now, no, this isn't strictly necessary. It's a chemical, it's an alcohol-based chemical compound that will basically instantly set the super glue, and I say instantly, it speeds up the process by a couple of seconds. Into a couple of seconds, I should say. But I paint that using a paintbrush all over one part of the model, and then I put super glue on the other half, and then I very carefully and quickly clip the two pieces together. And as you can see, such a tight fit, it's actually a struggle to get the top plate back in, but eventually it just pops back into place. And then the super glue and the super glue reactor will react to each other, super glue will harden, and it'll be nice. It's a really useful thing for doing it quickly. I decided to put a pin in the turret for the main gun, mostly because what I didn't want to happen is, even though I'm using the super glue activator and I could have held the position, I didn't want the gun to drop whilst it was setting. So I put a pin into the center of the gun, put that into the center of the thing, in the center of the turret pit, and made sure everything all fits, and then glued everything up. Pinning on a model such as this isn't Again, entirely necessary. There's a lot less fiddly parts compared to the Keeper of Secrets that Steve did. But for bits like this, and you can do it for the miniguns as well, though I didn't because they had a fairly snug fit. If you want your guns to sit right, or sticky out bits and swords to sit right and point around, then you know, careful pinning can really help. And once this piece is in place, it's nice and solid. Make sure that the barrel is twisted and everything. That is the model completed. And here we go. Here is the Rolling Thunder Union tank compared to a Wild West figure. That's William Sherman from the Union in the background there. But this is a lovely, lovely tank. It's a little goofy, admittedly, but I like it. It's got a little bit of charm to it. So priming it grey, I'm doing this in a well-ventilated area, just doing a few light dustings, making sure I've shook the can thoroughly. Don't need to go overboard. I am thinking about airbrushing this tank, so I just wanted to do a light dusting of primer. So yeah, so that the later coatings have just something to little grip to. Don't need to go overboard. So for the base, I by eye colour mixed a rough approximation of the same dusty desert colour from Armageddon Dunes texture paints. Here you can see I'm pouring in some PVA glue to act as a adhesive medium, and I'm then going to chuck in some sand, which is play sand, which you can get from pretty much any toy store or outdoor store or DIY store. But you know, play pit sand, and I've dried that out to use as a basing material, not medium. Mixing it up thoroughly, and then I'm going to apply it to the base. Now, with such a large base, I want to make sure it's thoroughly stuck, and I want to make sure that it's that the glue's really got something to stick to, because the base is quite smooth and plasticky. It doesn't have the texture on it that Games Workshop bases have, for example. So I'm going to take my craft knife here in a sec, and I'm going to score the surface. This keys the surface and allows the adhesive something to grip to. You might want to do it with some very coarse sandpaper, but I just thoroughly went over it, like scoring with the base. Now just paint on the basing texture, and we're done. So unfortunately I lost some of the footage for the painting, but basically main body lead belcher, lighter gold is gold, dark bronze, and warp block bronze for all of the metal bits. Here I washed it with Anglo Activator and then dry brush with Stormhost Silver a little bit. I've then painted in the all of the view slits with reds, and then a little bit of orange, and finally a white dot to give it that sort of lens glass effect you can see. This was possibly the most tricky part of the painting. After that, it's a matte varnish spray, nice and solid coating to make sure that it doesn't chip at all. And last step to attach to the base is a couple of pins. Carefully drilling them out, fitting the brass rod in between the axles, somewhere where it'll definitely sit straight. And then I drilled the base out and glued it in, just to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. This thing does tend to rock on its base. I think some of the wheels don't quite sit flat, but you know, it's a big kit. finally, I used some super glue and some scorched earth static grass to have the base match the rest of my Wild West Exodus force. So I'm using a pair of tweezers and a sort of stippling effect to get the grass to stand up. You could use a static growth applicator or an electrostatic thing, but I find this technique works really well. And that's pretty much the end of the build. As you can see, it's a really lovely kit. I'm really proud of how it came out. I've had a lot of good comments from the guys about it. Yeah, really fun resin build and really easy to do if you're unsure about resin kits. It's a really good place to start. Thank you for joining me for this video. I hope you found it informative and fun. See more pictures on our Instagram, and please join us next time. Bye.